Hey, what's up, YouTube? The other day I got a DM from a buddy of mine named Turvy, and they offered me a new Les Paul, which was advertised as a 2-2 with some work, and I can give some spare pads too. Of course I accepted, because if I had to deal with my Soulless 6 guitar phantom strumming on another 4,000 note streak into Constellation, I think I'd go mad. Turvy also makes custom Arduino guitars with mech frets. If you're interested in buying one, here's Turvy's Discord tag. This new guitar that Turvy sent is an absolute joy to use. I did a standard pad cut with my handy box cutter because I lost 4 X-Acto knives somehow, and it worked out brilliantly. For reference sake, here's a chart I threw together which shows which pad cut styles aid specific play styles. To me, it seems like the faster the rebound or the unpressing of the button after you let go of it, the better you can slide, which these cuts excel at. The lighter the pads, the less force you have to use for tapping, which improves all facets of stamina, but more importantly, allows you to feel the difference between zigged pull-offs easier and makes quints more consistent, which these cuts excel at. This one is what I found to be the best of both worlds, although it's a bit tougher to cut like this, so I usually go with the Tenno style cuts, as they're the simplest to do with a box cutter. I found that adding tape behind the fret PCB makes quite literally everything more consistent with the frets. The closer the carbon contacts are to the PCB, the more responsive they are, and to a certain point. If you add too much pressure to where the neck doesn't fully close, you'll end up messing up the board pretty badly. One great thing about the tape method is, since it adds permanent pressure to the back of the board, you don't need the 2 screws holding the PCB in place. That makes cleaning the frets or modding the silicone as simple as undoing the 2 body screws. On to the actual FC, Patterns on the Planet Express 4, Matthias's response to me piss clipping the first 3 entries in this series. This song has a ridiculously mean difficulty structure, a lengthy but missable intro followed by 5 very difficult solos. The first really difficult part comes in at the 70-second mark with 4 synth solo A and B. A isn't all that awful if you can hit the transition into it, but B pushes my physical speed to its limit and ends with some weirdly complicated slide transition tech that I needed to do a strange double one hand, followed by a tab into another double one hand to set up the transition into the ladder slide. I missed here over and over until I practiced it for 30 minutes at some point. What follows is what I like to call a hardware check because the patterns aren't that difficult to understand what you're supposed to do, but in execution, if your frets aren't in perfect working order, it'll drop your combo over and over again, specifically in 1 solo, 1 C, and 1 D. The slides here weren't consistent. The slides here weren't consistent. The 1 green here wasn't consistent, and just fuck this pattern. Luckily 1 solo 2 isn't that bad, so the next 40 seconds of the chart is a small break before the final barrage of solos. 2 solo starts off relatively harmless with some strum tech that I love hitting by intentionally using all of the hopos and forcing my wrist to alternate triplet strum bursts. The second half of this solo is the money section though. After some complicated trips and quads to set up the transition, the chart hits you with 4 cycles of Crisis Solo 3 160, which is pretty dang fast. The transition off of it is pretty tough to do cleanly since it's right after essentially quint spam. The solo ends with quads at the same physical speed as the sweeps, then goes right into what I think is the hardest solo in this chart, 3 solo. 3 solo starts off with some harmless sweeps that get progressively faster before setting up a sequence of speeding up patterns that concludes with 112 notes per second quints. In practice on my other guitar, I had about 10% consistency on this section, although I have a little confession to make. About 3 months ago, the guitar I had at the time was phantom strumming, which if you're unfamiliar with the term, means anytime I did a down strum, it had a chance of duplicating the input.
Yeah, the guitar's fucking busted.
That's different from rake strumming, as that requires you to flick the strum bar so the rebound hits the other strum switch. This is more akin to the switch chattering. To combat this issue, I set my RAFnet adapter to 2ms so that the excess strums would be mitigated. It worked, and I thought it wouldn't affect gameplay that much, as tests have been done on Les Pauls with RAFnets before and found that 500 Hz is the maximum it can pull. So to me, it meant that 2ms on the adapter would register the guitar as accurately as 1ms, because it doesn't do 1000 Hz. And oh boy, was I wrong. So whether it was the new guitar or changing my adapter settings back to 1ms, this was my first run of the song with the new setup, and I hit these quints first try. My reaction after the solo sums it up pretty well. Holy fucking shit! Besides the quints, the rest of 3 solo has some pretty quick chord chimneys, awkward tapping patterns, followed by a bit that I need to pre-anchor switch from green to red to ensure my skip taps register with the chimney pattern, and it concludes with basic transitions and a reverse chimney thing. The next part of the song is an involved break that I'm just sitting here thinking, man, I really hope 4 solo cooperates. If I pull off a grade 19 first try, that would be nuts. And finally, 4 solo, the first time I FC'd this far into the chart, and with the thought of missing requiring me to do hundreds more runs to get here. I was in laser focus mode. It starts with some tough quads to set up a transition into quite fast 3-set quad sweeps. These turn into descending trips at the same physical speed and sets up the first of the 2 hard bits in this solo, complicated quad quip-like patterns into enlightened solo style triangle slides directly into a fast and bursty quint-zig descending quad combo like seen in Sky Fracture VGH. The 5 quint-zigs at the end of this part transition right into the weird complex part of the solo, which I messed up a little bit but recovered by realizing the mistake and compensating with a double one-hand. The following patterns look way more rough than they actually are. It's basically just paying attention until 4 solo E. This bit pushes the complexity up a notch and concludes with very classy, Matthias. Some setup sweeps into very fast descending patterns and concluding with this quint monstrosity, which I can only assume was devised in the lowest circle of hell. My reaction says it all, but you'll have to watch the FC to get that.
Clone hero. Shouldn't have to teach you how to function. I'll give it back in a second, Lee. I have to see you in chat to do that. God, chat just loves talking for me and being incorrect. Holy fucking shit!
10 o'clock.
Oh, you're right. Tomorrow is the day we fight back.
Hey, wait. I'm having one of those things. You know, a headache with pictures.
An idea?
Great, G.
Game's over, losers. I have all the money. Compare your lives to mine and then kill yourselves.
fucking god!
Wow, your kid is great. How hard you say you had to hit him?
Holy fucking shit, dude!
Yes.
What the
finally.
fuck?
Finally.
World's first try, grade 19? You're fucking kidding me, dude! Oh my god!
Guacamole.
I'm gonna go fucking piss. God!